Hi everyone, welcome back. So, I was supposed to post a video a while ago about Joseph Smith being a narcissist, but I could not bring myself to edit that video and post it. I had already made it, put the effort into it, and kept telling myself, okay, girl, you need to edit this video and get it up there so that way you could get onto your next one. And then before I know it, 2 weeks has gone by and I'm like, why can I not post this video? What is going on? And I finally realized, I don't want to keep talking about the church and all of the specific details of what hurt me and what I found out was not true and how it affected me. If I keep talking about it in that sense, then I'm gonna stay in this space of being a victim. And I'm not in the space of being a victim because I don't feel like that anymore. I have healed. I still have more to do as we all continue to heal every day, each and every one of us. But I know that I still have more to do. But I'm not hung up on all of that anymore. Like, I look at it and I understand why I went through it, what happened, why it happened. I've come to terms with it and I have moved past it. And the whole point of me making this channel was to help people who were dealing with trauma from toxic religion, from narcissistic abuse, just trauma from childhood, because it hurts to carry such heavy burdens. And I feel like I've learned so much that has helped me to carry all that load and to let a lot of it go. I want to share that with people so that way other people can heal and move on. So this video today, I want to talk about why I still believe in God after being a member of the church and finding out that the history of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was not true, that the Book of Mormon was not true, that everything about Joseph Smith that I learned was not real. I want to talk about why I still believe in God, even after all of that. So, like I said, being burnt by anyone or something that you love and you think loves you back, has respect for you, cherishes you, treasures you, has the same amount of love for you as you do for them, it really hurts when you find out that everything was a lie, that the whole relationship was built on deceit and it completely crumbles. I am a convert to the church. I was a member for 10 years. So when I found out that the church wasn't true, the history and everything, it really devastated me. But I can only imagine how it must have felt for so many people who grew up in the church their whole entire life. And this is what they knew. This was how they were brought up. This is how they lived their life every single day, what they base their beliefs around. I could only imagine how much it would hurt to find out that all of that is not true, and how much it would make you question having any faith, how much it would make you question, is God real? Was Jesus Christ real? Or is everything a lie? I mean, the church pretty much lied about so much stuff, and I know there are so many other religions that are toxic as well that have done the same thing to their members, and they have those same kind of questions too. And I want to share my knowledge with you of why I still believe in God. Because God and Jesus Christ are essential in my life. And I feel like I still would not know how to live, how to make decisions, how to navigate in this crazy world that we're living in without knowing God and without knowing Jesus Christ and following his teachings. So when I found out that the history of the church wasn't true, I had already, for some time, had questions about the church. Because being a member over a decade really brought me so much shame and guilt because I wasn't living up to Mormon standards. I had not served a mission. I was divorced. I was a single mother. I was in a mixed race marriage when I was married. So I just felt like I wasn't worthy, even though they teach that Jesus Christ was all about love, was all about forgiveness, and how merciful God is, and how unconditional his love is. But yet, being a member of the church made his love feel very conditional. Very conditional. I was like, if God is supposed to be unconditional and all loving and all knowing, why then is the church making his love conditional? There's something is wrong here. Something's not right. And on top of that, I was in school at the time, so I was learning all kinds of stuff about energy and how energy works and how the universe came about and all of these different things. And I'm coming to these conclusions before I ever even found out that the history of the church wasn't true and that the Book of Mormon wasn't true. So finding all that stuff out, it was just like, ugh, I knew it. I knew it. But even though I knew it, it still hurts so bad because, you know, if you think about it, it's like when you're in a relationship with somebody and you think that they're cheating. You think that they're doing something bad. You think that they're, you know, deceiving you in some way, whatever it is. And you like have this thought in your mind like they might be, but then there's still, you know, that hope that, well, maybe it's just me. Maybe, you know, I'm just making it up in my mind. Maybe that's not true. That's not what's happening. And then you find out it is. It's like, I knew it, and it still hurts so bad because it's like, I knew it. I knew it. So that's how it felt. So the church didn't teach to fear God in the sense of fear him or you're going to hell. You know, like I grew up with the Catholic Church. Well, not really with it. My grandparents were Catholic when they were growing up. We never went to church, but, you know, you always heard about if you do anything, you're going to hell, and you burn in fire and all this crazy stuff. And Jesus teaches patience and love and forgiveness. And if he came here to teach the ways of Heavenly Father and they were one in their purpose, wouldn't that mean that God is also unconditional and forgiving and understanding and all-knowing? And so it's contradictory. So a little side note, I want to give a little bit of history about the Bible and why I believe that they teach out of fear instead of love, like how it's supposed to be. Because Jesus always taught out of love. So back in like the 1500s, the Catholic Church is the one that was in charge or had access to books. The public was not allowed to own books. They weren't allowed to read the Bible. Anyone who heard the Bible, they heard it from somebody who was interpreting it from a pulpit during church. And eventually, there was somebody who wanted it to be available to them in English. And it was like, okay, well, we will interpret the Bible into English. And it was interpreted so many different times before the King James Version came about. I was always taught, being a member of the Mormon Church, that the King James Version of the Bible was the oldest one. But that's not true. That's not the oldest version because it was translated several times before King James came along and slapped his name on it. So at that time, the church was essentially giving up control. If they were going to let normal people have access to the Bible and interpret it, it makes sense that they would lace it with agenda and fear. So that way people would stay compliant and still do what the church said and still center the church in their lives. So, like I said, it makes sense that the Bible teaches out of fear. So that's just a side note about that. So, what we know already is that God is supposed to be unconditional. He is supposed to be merciful. He's supposed to love and know us, have the best intentions for us. God is overall good. Like a parent. A good parent would not want anything bad for their child. A good parent would want nothing but good for their child. Would want their child to learn lessons and be able to make decisions for themselves so they could navigate their life safely and in a way that they don't have to deal with bad consequences and bad karma. God is loving and supposed to always be there for us. We also know that when the Bible was being translated into English, the church was losing control and giving that up, and they had to have some way of keeping people compliant. And one of the best ways to control anything, well, people think was one of the best ways, is by fear. Because if something is in fear, it's easy to convince them of things. So those are things that I know, that we know. Now I want to talk about what I learned in school and why I was already having questions about the church and the validity of everything that it was teaching. So I took a lot of science courses because I have a degree in science, and I learned a lot about how energy works. So the basic law of energy is that energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be stored, it can be changed into something, or transferred to something else, from one thing to another. So that's the basic law of energy. And everything in this world, everything in this universe is matter, is energy. Everything is made out of atoms. Atoms vibrate constantly where they're at, and it creates a frequency, and it's energy. So if energy cannot be created or destroyed, that means all matter in the universe was made at one time. It all came from one source, one thing. Is there something where everything came from one source and the Big Bang Theory? What? Everything came from one spot and boom, expanded? To me, that is evidence of, everything comes from one source. Everything comes from one. So whether you think it's God, whether you call it universe, spirit, however you know it, it's God. It's essentially all the same thing. We all come from one source. So that means God is real. Now, I've always heard that science and God don't go together. But the more I learn about science, the more I'm like, it points to God. It points to the existence of a one source universe, of the existence of one power. It all points to it. So for them to say, well, if God was real, evolution can't be real. The dinosaurs couldn't have existed. To me, it's like, well, that's just silly. Why wouldn't they be able to exist? Why wouldn't evolution be real? If you think about it, time is relative. God's time is not our time. Like they said that he created the universe in 7 days. That's not our 24-hour days. We don't know how long God's day was. Time in space moves completely different than time here on Earth. So we don't know how long the time span actually was for 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. And he created all of these different things. So why wouldn't it make sense that he put creatures on the earth and then while time went by, it evolved. It changed to adapt to everything around it. That makes sense to me. God's time is not our time. It could have been millions of years, which it was millions of years. So to say evolution can't be real is like, well, that's silly. Evolution definitely could be real because so much time could have gone by with these creatures on the earth and they had to adapt. So why wouldn't they evolve? And the same with dinosaurs. Why wouldn't dinosaurs be real? God's time is not our time. He made reptiles and all that and left the animals there. Who knows? Millions of years for the dinosaurs? Yeah, I believe the dinosaurs. I mean, there's fossils. So why wouldn't dinosaurs be real? Why wouldn't God exist? Because we found dinosaur fossils. It doesn't make sense. It all fits together like, well, duh, evolution is real. Duh, dinosaurs were real. Like, it makes sense to me. So that's what I learned in school. So after I found out that the church wasn't true and whatnot, then I'm like, okay, well, now I need to figure out what is true because, I became a member of the church when I was 24. I had lots of life experience before I became a member. So I had lots of things where I knew God was real in my life because he protected me. And Jesus' teachings are everywhere. They can be found everywhere across the world. Bits and pieces can be found in different religions. They can be found in different communities, different groups of people. They can be found everywhere. So why wouldn't Jesus have been real? So anyway, so I was, on a mission like, okay, well, I want to figure out what is true and separate what the church told me and the lies that they told me versus what is the truth. So one day I think I was watching YouTube and I came across someone named Dolores Cannon. Dolores Cannon, awesome woman. She was a hypnotherapist who pioneered past life regression therapy. So pretty much she hypnotized people and then she took them back in their spirit, whatever, how you do, in your mind to different lifetimes that they lived. Everyone that she took back all the way to where they began to source, they all described it the same way. They all described it as being in the presence of this bright light that was just nothing but energy. It wasn't a male, it wasn't a female, it was just pure energy. And in this presence, they felt nothing but unconditional love and joy, and they just wanted to stay there. They didn't want to leave. Every single one of them described going back to the source as this unconditional love that they felt. So that's just another piece of evidence that says God is loving, is unconditional. God doesn't want us to fear. Source, spirit, universe doesn't want us to be in fear. Good parents, good anything knows that teaching out of love is better than teaching out of fear. That doesn't mean that, you can't be firm, because love can also be firm. But it's always good intentions. It's always best interest. It's always good. And all of these pieces of evidence has helped me to come to my own understanding, and is the reason why I believe in God, why I still believe in one source. Now, sometimes I go back and forth. I called Heavenly Father for so long because I was a member of the church for so long. So sometimes I call it Heavenly Father, but I correct myself because it doesn't make me comfortable calling Source Heavenly Father anymore. Really knowing with my soul that God is energy. We're all energy. We came from one source of energy. So I don't really like calling it Heavenly Father. Sometimes I'll refer to as God, but most of the time, the most comfortable I feel is when I say source or spirit, because that's really what it is. And it's important that we understand this, because being hurt by the church you're a member of makes you want to turn away from that. And if you're turning away from faith, if you're turning away from God, away from the teaching of Jesus, you're turning away from yourself, because we are all connected to this energy. We all have access to it. It's all a part of us. It's what everyone knows it as intuition, as that little voice, that first little voice that you hear that pretty much has the best advice. What the church referred to as the Spirit. You know, there was Jesus Christ, God, and the Spirit. That's what that is. So if you're turning away from that, you're turning away from yourself, because when you're in tune with what you like, what you don't like, who you are, what your purpose is, when you're in tune to listening to your intuition and you get closer to spirit, it feels so much better. You feel like you're living an authentic life, and it's comforting to know nothing can separate us from God, from Source, because it's within us. Every single day you hear it in your head. You feel it in your gut. When you have gut feelings, you are in tune with it without even really knowing. So letting being hurt make you not want to have faith anymore, even though it might feel like the right thing to do, I advise you, friends, to really look inward and connect to Source. Get to know it, because you deserve to be close to Spirit and to live your life in a way where you don't feel guilt, you don't feel shame, you feel loved and accepted and understood, because that's what Source is this loving, all-knowing parent who wants nothing but the best for us, who would not do anything to hurt us. And Jesus Christ was sent here to teach us all about this love, because it was corrupted. If we follow Jesus and his teachings of unconditional love and forgiveness, we will live good lives. It will still have ups and downs, but we're better equipped to deal with those ups and downs, having access to Source, understanding Source, Spirit, God, understanding that we all are one Source, and we all are known, we all are loved by this energy from where we come from, and they just want the best for us. That being said, we have come to the end of this video. So I enjoyed being here with you guys again. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, be a part of the community. We are nothing but love, high vibration, and good energy here. So until I see you again, remember, you are worth it, you are worthy, and you are loved unconditionally. Mwah. Bye, you guys.